Hey guys, welcome to a new video. So today we will take a look on a 1v1 game in Armies of Exigo, and this time we will see a matchup between Pepsi and Asuna on the map Inner Sanctum. So let's just start it. In the bottom left corner we have Pepsi with the yellow color and playing with the human race, and in the top left corner we have also human, this time Asuna with the green color. For now, of course, both of them are just gathering extra resources. This map is pretty good because you have this extra expansion that is protected. There is only one entrance that goes through the expansion to your main base, so you can really easily take the expansion. Many people try to take it even immediately. Of course, this is the safer approach, where you create a front base to close it here, and then you can go for the expansion, which is what Pepsi decided to do here. So he's already starting his barracks with one peasant, and he's actually building his farm in the back because it's a more fragile building, so he wants to have it covered in the backline so it doesn't get destroyed, because then he would lose his population, and then he will probably place second barracks here in the front line to close this. On the other side we have Asuna, who is going for the more traditional approach, I would say, for even other maps, where you build barracks and then with the same peasant you queue up the farm. At around 750 HP you should swap to the farm to have perfect timing for the Swordsman. He already, yeah, it was a little bit too late, but it's like 40 HP, so that's maybe like 2 seconds, not a big deal. He's also sending first peasant to wood, so trying to prepare probably some extra wood for towers or other structures, but I don't think he'll go for second barracks. Maybe he'll just go for the expansion right after this, because he didn't really leave the space for it here, so you would either have to place it like in front of it, on either side, or maybe behind. But we'll see what he will go for. But on the opposite side we have Pepsi already going for the tower. It's almost already finished. Actually, he will finish the tower before Asuna can finish his barracks, so that's really good. And now he's also building the second barracks while he has the farm in the back. So definitely way more buildings, much quicker build like this. But on the other hand, of course, he needed more peasants for it. So overall, he should have a little bit less resources. He's also now going for gems, no wood yet. So as you can see, his wood is really low. Even though he has the gems, he might struggle a little bit. He definitely doesn't have wood for expansion. If he will want to get another farm or even something else, then he might struggle with that. While Asuna definitely gathers lots of wood, immediately can place down the expansion, and now still has enough wood for a tower and other stuff. Of course, this is much riskier because you don't have the early tower, you have later Swordsmen. You won't have the second barracks for faster production. The farm is more vulnerable. So there is lots of downsides to this, but of course you have early expansion and the map is really big, so there is a really high probability that the opponent won't find you quickly enough to actually punish you for this riskier play. And as you can see, Pepsi already came here with a swordsman, but Asuna is defending the only entrance to his base now with 2 swordsmen, which means Pepsi cannot scout this expansion now. He can predict it, but he cannot scout it, so now he has to decide if he will continue pushing here with swordsman or if he will quickly go for some siege units, probably catapults, to try to break through this defense, or he will also expand, because that's of course also an option. Now he has enough wood for it, he just needs 400 gold, and then he can place down his expansion. We even see a farm here, not sure why he didn't place it in front of the tower for defense against melee units, but maybe he has planned for a temple there or something. Asuna walked here, but also didn't see expansion. He would maybe scout it, but I'm not sure if he will rely on that. Also blacksmith from Pepsi, and now he has the resources. He also immediately placing out the expansion, but Asuna is already on basically 100% or 90 before this even started. So this is really good for Asuna. Lots of extra resources. Pepsi will now have to catch up in some way. His swordsman cannot do literally anything because of the tower, and actually Asuna now has more swordsmen, even though just 1 barracks. Definitely Asuna needs to start gathering more gems, because it's really important for Empire in the mid game. For now there is still only 1 peasant, and as you can see the gems difference is now huge, so this is a big problem. I think there should be definitely already 2 peasants for a long time, same as Pepsi did it. And we even see 11th century. I think that won't be Valkyries, that will be probably just a Phoenix scout, but you want to always scout of course the enemy strategy, so this is a really good move. He's also preparing the second barracks now to catch up on the infrastructure for the usual units, also a stone keep. And the only thing I can see he doesn't really have that Pepsi has already is the blacksmith, where actually Pepsi is already getting his first iron sword upgrade, which is the damage upgrade for swordsman and pikeman. expansion is now on 1700 HP, so should be finished soon. Also, Pepsi started making some Elf Rangers, and he's actually going for a front base with a tower. So that will be really powerful if we can finish it and upgrade it. Of course, Asuna could scout it, or he can also go for catapults and then break through it. But of course, it will be still powerful. Asuna doesn't have too many peasants here yet, so the advantage is actually not that high. And as you can see, Pepsi probably prepared some peasants up front. So now the amount of peasants on the expansion is actually basically the same. Of course, Asuna was already gathering here for a while, but as you can see, the population is kind of balanced. And Pepsi actually has all of those extra gems now, so I think he's in a way better position even economically, even though he had the expansion later. So this is quite interesting. Of course, still both players on 2 barracks and 1 tower. Actually, Pepsi now going for the advanced barracks upgrade and precision archery. He also wants to, of course, unlock the fire arrows, and I think he wants to go just mass elf rangers, just full ranged army. While Asuna is going for the temple, he has the 11th century, so I think a Phoenix already in the base of Pepsi, who doesn't have 11th century, so he might want to do that. Yeah, he's building it now. Also the temple, trying to catch up on some infrastructure that Asuna already has. But the range units will be really useful. We even see a second tower, no also blacksmith and defensive towers, really good. But no workshop from either of them. Or actually, okay, no workshop from Pepsi to siege down the enemy, but Asuna doesn't have the workshop, so this front base will be really powerful, because I don't think he can break through it, especially if there are also some units. He would definitely need the catapults now to get through these towers. And now he's also starting to struggle a little bit with wood, maybe. He actually invested 150 to improved farming, so that definitely took a lot of wood from him. He's making a nice defensive wall here around his villagers that are gathering the gold here. He's like building all the farms in a circle. Also utilize the blacksmith. I think there is probably not a gap even, so just around is where they can go, and then of course on this side. But then there are the gold fields protecting it at least a little bit from the back, and the towers in the middle of it. So really good defensive position here. This is of course much weaker. Yeah, you can harass it by dropping some units here, running into them, or just with air, because there are no towers. So definitely a really good job from Asuna here in terms of creating a nice defensive structure here in the backline. We also see third barracks and also already 2 advanced barracks. So lots of production. Now first priest and resurrection immediately. This was just a scout, Phoenix scout from Pepsi. 1 tower from Pepsi here to secure an expansion probably. Not really random position, but of course it's sometimes good if the enemy doesn't scout properly. And we see Asuna over 1000 gold, that's definitely a lot, he needs to start spending it. But Pepsi also had lots of resources, he's just now struggling with wood a little bit. But of course now we saw that Asuna scouted these towers, which are already maximum upgrades. Guard towers, the only way you can make them stronger now is to get castle and fortify upgrade. But for now this is definitely really strong, and I think we'll see, I don't know, workshop response immediately, and he will try to go for the catapults, otherwise he can't do anything. Actually 4th barracks in the back line, so that will be, if we count advanced barracks as 2, that will be like 6 production buildings for the usual units. Plus the 11th century, non-workshop and temple, so lots of production buildings. Pepsi now setting up his 3rd base, so that should give him a resource lead, but maybe this Phoenix will scout it, we will see. And actually, okay, Asuna decided to rush into the towers, and looks like he will just take them down, because Pepsi didn't have any peasants here actually prepared to repair them, and the Elf Rangers don't have any upgrades really yet, so this is a bit problematic. Of course, Asuna also has at least 1 upgrade there for the damage. There is also only 1 priest on the side of Pepsi. Asuna had 2 priests, but 1 already died. And this was a really good move. Asuna managed to break through the front base without even the need of the catapults. So maybe he won't even create them in the end, we will see. And now he has this huge infrastructure where he can produce extremely quickly always swordsmen. Now he's also getting more upgrades, even creating a 2nd blacksmith to make it even quicker. Also his Phoenix scouted the expansion now, so he will quickly clear it with his swordsmen. But Pepsi now already has a catapult, so he can maybe potentially try a push here. The problem I see here is that once he gets swarmed by all of these swordsmen from Asuna, I don't think he can survive that. And this is also really risky. He left this backline here absolutely unprotected, yeah, maybe for swordsmen, but this army could still take him down. I think that he was expecting Asuna to not have any more units than this, which was a mistake. Now he's actually coming with the backline, but still not too well protected. But yeah, he's trying to somehow save this. Asuna should also, of course, send at least 2 swordsmen behind this peasant to stop the repair. That's wasting a lot of time. He retargeted only after he got hit, so he was most likely not watching this location. And I think the town hall will now survive. Also, there is still 1 peasant inside, so it could leave it and start repairing, which he will do. And yeah, he managed to successfully protect this. He's bringing lots of new priests once again, kinda unprotected here. Would be nice to have at least 1 scout, 1 swordsman or elf ranger here to see if some units are coming on the priests that are just randomly walking here around the map. But fortunately for him, Asuna is staying really defensive. And we see just huge swordsman spam. Not even any peasants, even though, not peasants, any priests, even though he has so many gems. So this is just not really... He's just not really utilizing the options he has. He has lots of resources. We don't see any production now. He's trying to focus on this harassment that he did here. He made an arc and dropped some swordsmen on the economy of Pepsi. Who lost some peasants there, but he also sent lots of them to the other base. But unfortunately he will lose his blacksmith, which is a huge hit. Because he was getting the upgrades there. Okay, he's actually upgrading his swordsman for some reason. He has 2 and 1 upgrades there. But in the last fight he actually had the major army of elf rangers where he doesn't have any upgrades. So that was kinda interesting. But I guess both of the players now have swordsman upgrades. So we'll just see swordsman wars, and this was really good. He destroyed an arc and all the swordsmen are dead now. So that was a huge hit. We see some small peasant reproduction, peasants retreating from the other base, or returning rather, and then disciples for extra mana, or I mean like cheaper spells. But yeah, this is what I was talking about. Priests just kinda randomly around the map, so he will maybe get punished and at least 1 will fall. But there is already the army, so... Okay, so he killed 2 priests. Now I would retreat immediately, which he's kinda doing. Both of them has most likely trailblazing, so increased movement speed, which means the rest of the army can't really keep up with the swordsman, but Asuna has so many swordsmen now that he can once again afford to push on this expansion. And I don't think there is any way Pepsi will protect it, but maybe he can just launch a powerful attack on the main base of Asuna now and straight up push it. We see actually decree being researched in the obsidian tower that Asuna managed to finish there. So Pepsi will lose this, so looks like he wants to trap these swordsmen inside of here and just finish them. Which might be possible once again. The Bekan is really unprotected. Asuna could really easily follow here with some more units. So Pepsi started fighting here, of course, before the priest got here, so he's actually gonna lose lots of units, all of his swordsmen, and maybe the question is if he can even win this. There is already 3 attack upgrades. But yeah, okay, he has the resurrections, so he will probably destroy this, even though he's losing way more units than he needs to. And now we see all the swordsmen coming on the backline, as was predicted before, and I think Pepsi is absolutely screwed here, even though he's fighting just one type of unit. Now priests also coming, but it's just mainly simply swordsman spam. All the catapults fell here, which is a huge resource loss. But the population is still kinda balanced, even though actually Pepsi didn't manage to secure the third base, so it should be same resources on both sides. But as you can see, Pepsi just totally lost all of his units on this fight. And now he needs to start accumulating a new army. Now he is like 30 population behind. He's still getting in his main base, so there's a small advantage. Even though there's not too many resources remaining, but since he got harassed here, he wasn't able to gather there as quickly. So now he has a little bit faster income, but overall, throughout the whole game, he gathered less resources most likely. So that's actually not like an advantage, but it should help him a little bit now to recover a little bit quicker than it would usually. Asuna is also going for an expansion. Seems like he doesn't have teamwork, which is definitely a mistake. He has the resources for it, and it could help him make the expansions much quicker, especially at this stage of the game, which is already quite late. It would definitely help him by a lot, and the peasants are here. But he could at least start building some towers around or something for protection. Pepsi is going for harass with arc, okay. This swordsman is also a swordsman of Pepsi, so that won't get scouted by Asuna here, who is also going for another base, so that's like 2 expansions at once, while Pepsi is standing at home. Yeah, Asuna knows that he just destroyed lots of units of Pepsi, so he should be really behind, and also Asuna has huge armies, so he can protect whatever he wants, and basically instead of risking some risky push into Pepsi, who might have really strong defense, he just rather goes for the macro approach here and expands. I don't think he sees this arc yet, and now Pepsi is already here. I think he saw it right at the second when the units dropped. So even without the attack alert, but still. But yeah, I don't think this will fall. It's just too many units. He could have kept hitting it, but he would get surrounded. Maybe the peasants would walk out this on this side and they would start repairing it. So it would be just a waste of units. But okay, Asuna didn't give any defense here. This is the major problem I see here. He's constantly bringing his whole army together, and many players are doing this. They are just bringing their army as just one bunch of units instead of actually taking like 3 swordsmen, defending it here a little bit. 3 swordsmen wouldn't be enough to defend this, but it will give you more time, and then maybe this wouldn't fall. So that is why you definitely want to have some protection, even here. Also the towers should be already there before the building finished. So lots of opportunities or options to really make the defense stronger on multiple different places. Because for example here he built the towers for protection, but even this expansion doesn't have them, or the other bases. But now we saw mages entering the gnome arc, so he's ready. Of course the decree was already researched a long time ago. Still lots of gems. I would probably like to see more mages and priests, but I guess he wants to mainly go for the swordsman. But there are also already mages of Pepsi, so if he has the decree, which I think he maybe now researched because there was something being researched, mage didn't walk out and now disappeared. So I think he just researched the decree, and now we might get into an interesting fight. Unfortunately, Pepsi will now lose his expansion here. Once again, no real protection, even though in his state it wouldn't really help. Asuna actually staying here with the gnome arc. I think that is the one that has the mages, or this is the one that has the mages. I'm not sure. Maybe he's making another one at home. And both players are actually doing the exact same thing. Arcs with mages. Maybe they want to harass villagers, but of course this base is already empty, so I don't know if he wants to harass the wood gatherers. You have no army. Unfortunately, he is not grouped up. But yeah, nice move. Pepsi, killing all the priests here with the decrees. That was really good from the arc. He's also coming with more mages now, and this might actually work quite well. He lost 1 mage there. Of course, yeah, Asuna is trying to harass here with the mages, but in the fight that would be they would be way more valuable. The fact that he's killing some wood gatherers there is absolutely doing nothing to Pepsi, because his economy doesn't really care about wood anymore. If he actually harassed the working base with all guild workers, it would be good. But it would be way more valuable in this fight. Unfortunately for Pepsi, it still won't be enough, because Asuna already has free upgrades on the swordsman, which is just too big of an advantage. Also, he has lots of auras there. Yeah, the units are way more leveled up, and I'm afraid now this will be the end of Pepsi. Actually, now losing all of this here. Also, the mages died, but I mean, he couldn't gather here anymore. Anyways, Pepsi still has some resources to use, but he is 30 population behind. Okay, actually some swordsmen were here from Pepsi. He has this expansion, completely destroyed it. Now he's going for another one. It is actually not gathering, but Asuna is still gathering here. He has bigger army. I don't see Pepsi defending this. He has 1 mage. He's making swordsmen and priests. I don't really like this. He had the gems there as well that he pumped into the priests. I think more mages would be just straight up valuable. More valuable, because the priests won't have any units to heal anyways. So I would just make like 5 mages or 3 or whatever you can make with the resources he had, and just try to protect it with decrease. Because as you can see, Asuna doesn't even have mages anymore. He's still going pure swordsman. And even though the leveled up swordsmen mainly are quite durable, even against the decrease. Actually there are some mages, but no mana now. But yeah, he managed to one-shot all the swordsmen of Pepsi, so no more harassment. The peasants maybe retreated to the town hall, or they just moved here. Now there is nice defense from Asuna with split units on different bases. So that's really good, and I'm afraid Pepsi can't do much with this anymore. If he avoids the towers, he can maybe retreat with this, have 3 more swordsmen at home for defense. But if he gets too close, he'll die to the towers. One scout here. Phoenix just checking around. Okay, another arc harassment, or what is he preparing here? He can freely scout this, unless there is the Phoenix. So we should see this army. Oh, nice decree attempt. Almost lost the mage, but he dealt some damage there. Unfortunately, he didn't really one-shot the priest. Okay, blast, that of course indicates an attack from Asuna. Or maybe not. Okay, not sure why he blasted, but he's not moving forward now. Of course, the duration is now falling off, so if he wants to attack, he should do it immediately. This was just waste of mana, and now he doesn't have mana for resurrections and almost not even for heals anymore. So killing these priests is not even as valuable anymore, but of course if you can do it for free like this, it's always good. Asuna flying here around with the no mark, and Pepsi needs to react quickly. There could have been a decree already. And he got decreed, and he will not lose anything maybe, okay. Where is the Phoenix? Phoenixes are really strong against no marks, so yeah, he's already here. He needs to definitely deal with that quickly. Nice one shot with the catapult on the mage, and this is a huge loss for Asuna, who now already has limited resources, 2 mages and an arc. Definitely a big hit. The thing is of course that he's still gathering here. Pepsi needs to stop that. And another expansion of Asuna is being now placed down. Pepsi doesn't even have gold for a new expansion, so he just has to fight now. This is just Swordsman, so the decrease should deal with that. Probably a good idea to stand here between the barracks. If you can lure him on yourself, that will be really good. But there was also lots of priests of Pepsi actually dying, and I don't even think this was a even trade. I think it was favorable for Asuna, even though he had just Swordsman there. Of course, Pepsi is still 30 population behind. It's definitely a lot. But all these swordsmen are almost dead, so they need to heal. Of course, he's immediately spamming as many priests as he can. And it was just a swordsman scout. Yeah, Pepsi tried to harass this, but there was still some swordsmen of Asuna as well, and also the peasants, so he wasn't strong enough to actually kill it. He can maybe kill this, he has 3 swordsmen in the arc, but they are probably injured. This is just 2, but full HP and full upgrades, so I'm not sure. Pepsi actually has only 2 to upgrade, so its swordsmen are much weaker. Plus he doesn't have the auras, yeah. I don't see level 5 swordsmen yet, but of course level 3 and 4, multiple of them here. So that's the lesser aura of absorption, which gives you 1 armor. And these mages, once again, the backline is not fully protected, and the mages will just die here. Maybe 1 more decree, but I don't think it will kill anything. It's just all really low HP. He doesn't have a single more mage. If he had 1 more decree here, or 2, all of the swordsmen would probably die, and I could actually see Pepsi winning this. But he just doesn't have any more mages now, even though he has the resources for 2 more. Plus he could have made them before, but yeah, he can stop this. The problem is there is still full income here. Of course he's now trying to gather resources for a new base. But he's actually going for the mages, okay. I think it's a smart move, because to get the expansion working and get the value from it, it would be just too long. So we can now stop this. Catapult, that will of course get rushed. Hopefully he has arc somewhere. Or he can just run away with the swordsman maybe, but yeah, it's a wasted catapult that could have been still valuable in a fight against priests. I think he will want to finish this, even though he will lose all of his swordsmen. Or maybe not all of them, but definitely something. Okay, he lost 1 swordsman, or 2 maybe here. Oh, why is he retreating? That's a huge mistake. And he is getting harassed by another bunch of swordsmen. Once again, the backline is not protected at all. All of it fell here. And now Pepsi doesn't still have anything more, just 1 priest. 2 mages here. That's not good now, he'll even lose the mages. The workers can try to fight there, but yeah, now we get surrounded. Or the mage targeted immediately. And now I really don't see any more chance for Pepsi. There was a chance, I think, a few minutes ago. But we have to still keep in mind that Asuna still had income and was producing more swordsmen, so even if all of the swordsmen there would die to the decrease, the question is if it would be even enough. And actually, okay, Asuna got harassed again by 3 swordsmen of Pepsi, but he still has peasants, yeah, he can just return there. And he still has so many units here. For this, the mages would be really needed. But Pepsi just doesn't have them. He can produce 1 more mage now. He's going for it. He has the tower here, so if he holds it in the choke point, it shouldn't be pushable. Unfortunately, here he will lose his priests. But yeah, this expansion got saved. And now, yeah, now I'm pretty sure it's GG for sure. But Pepsi definitely bringing some nice comebacks for many times. Just overall, it wasn't really enough. But yeah, now the army of Asuna is just huge. He doesn't really have to worry about a single tower here anymore. he can just rush into that. Maybe the mage will walk out. One decree can be casted. Of course, he didn't do much to the swordsman. It would probably kill the priest at least. There could have been hold position with the swordsman, maybe hit between the farms, but yeah, mage was already too slow. And Pepsi calls it GG. So yeah, pretty interesting game. Nice human mirror, or empire mirror, on the inner sanctum. And now we can check the results. Yeah, for 34 minutes 29 seconds, so a little bit longer game than usually. In terms of units, we have 183 for Pepsi, Asuna 208, so definitely a little bit more. He also has more resources, yeah, of course, even though he had less wood, but that was just overgathering, and neither of them needed as much wood. So the peasants just weren't really needed. There's extra gold that you spent on it, so either bring the peasants to an expansion, or just don't make as many peasants, of course, because this is just a really inefficient gathering, of course. You can get into certain situations where you can't gather wood anymore and you still have some other resources, then the wood can be useful, but of course 3,500 extra wood is just too much. In terms of gems, Pepsi had actually a little bit more because he started getting it way quicker, and probably even after that Asuna wasn't really focusing on it too much. He wanted to go mainly swordsman. As you can see, he still didn't spend like almost 2,000 gems, so that was really interesting. But also Pepsi had still 1k gems remaining in the end. The main problem was here just gold, yeah, and Asuna had 4k more, so that of course resulted in 25 extra units for him. In terms of kills, Asuna also killed more, almost by 30, and losses are kind of reverted. We can see basically the same here. Pepsi actually lost a few more units there, so maybe some self-kills with the decrease there. I think he one-shotted some of his own priests in one moment. Largest army kinda similar for extra units for Asuna, but definitely way more experience. We saw that on all the auras he had on his swordsman. He was also really nicely preserving the leveled up units, so that also led to much stronger army. Plus he had more upgrades, even though actually, okay, he had less researches, but Pepsi probably had some researches that he didn't really need, because from what we saw, the swordsmen for Asuna were free damage and free armor, and Pepsi had only 2 and 2. So I think it was just some other additional upgrades that Pepsi made, which were also useful, but it didn't really help in the fight that much. Maybe Asuna didn't have the damage upgrade from barracks for swordsman that is unlocked in the advanced barracks, but he most likely had. I think Pepsi just made some other upgrades as well for maybe archers or fortify, maybe the teamwork that Asuna didn't have. We also saw disciples, that's maybe also something Asuna didn't have. So all these other upgrades around it, but the things that actually influenced the majority of the army, with the units that was the most present there, which was the swordsman, that is what Asuna had researched more. Perhaps a little bit more infrastructure for extra buildings, even though Asuna had more bases in the end, or just throughout the game. But Pepsi probably had a little bit better infrastructure, even though the amount of barracks Asuna made was also really insane. Destroyed buildings, Pepsi destroyed 2. I think there was just some expansions. Of course, Asuna now probably towards the end also destroyed some other buildings. But also stopped some expansions, of course, and lost buildings is just reversed. So yeah, pretty interesting game. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next one. So take care, guys.